Welcome to the Matt Willson SFL Kickoff Show. I'm Mike Daggs. He's Gerald Smith behind the scenes. Our production crew, Cameron Irvine and Ron Haynes. Welcome to Week 6 of Season 25 here in the Simulation Football League. Got Ryan Davis and T. DeQueen already in the chat. We appreciate you joining us on this Saturday afternoon edition of the Matt Willson Show. Gerald, how you doing, man?
Doing good, doing good. We didn't have the Friday thing because apparently you had like a day trip to go
I
to
had a
some
thing.
random
I don't
city
have
in
enough
New
time
York.
to get into that.
And then you came back.
I came back.
So we just delayed everything. Saturday is just as good as Friday.
That's it. Flew to New York City, flew back same day. That was not the plan. Too long of a story for right now. But, hey, we appreciate y'all being here. I see Damon Simeon, Jason Peace, Fox Highwind is in the house as well. Appreciate y'all joining us on this Saturday afternoon. We've got one heck of a show. We actually are – listen, we were trying to pick a game of the week, and Gerald just got too excited. He picked 2 games of the week. So we're going to break down 3 games instead of just 2. We're going to talk about last week. We've got some great offensive and defensive player of the week segments.
We sure do.
I can't wait to get into it. So let's get started. Let's talk about last week. Listen, 2 weeks ago, we had just blowout after blowout after blowout. And it was like, man, these games, we picked every game right. We saw the schedule, and it's like, listen, these games just look like they're going to play out how we think they are. They all did, and they were all blowouts. This past week, man, we had some great football. Minnesota, Florida, 6-point margin of victory for Minnesota, beating the Storm on the road 20-14. And then you had the DC Dragons and Queen City Corsairs in Buffalo. We thought that one might be a blowout. DC did get up to 4-0, but 23-20, the Corsairs gave them one heck of a fight.
And that's not what I thought was going to happen in that game either, right? The way the Dragons have been playing, the way Queen City have been playing, but Queen City put up a good fight, but came up just short.
One of the games that was a little bit more of a blowout, and this one was one that we weren't expecting. How about, I'll call them what you want me to call them. How about Louisiana North? The Pittsburgh Riverhogs on the road winning their second ever road game. Still, only 2, but still, they won. They beat Charleston in Charleston 24-10.
And I heard it in my DMs because they know I love them there, and I pick against them. They lit up my DMs, and I'm like, I'm sorry. You guys weren't playing well. But they played very well.
They did. Lexington at Detroit. Remember when we were doing the picks on this one? You, like, scoffed and, like, I thought you were having, like, a seizure or something or an aneurysm. You thought me picking Detroit was just ridiculous. 24-3, Detroit stuck it to Lexington.
It's bad.
I told you they're up and down. There's not a lot of consistency in Lexington.
And they were up, and Lexington was down.
Yeah, for sure. But then almost the whole rest of the slate was a whole lot closer. Carolina getting their first win on the season, 23-20 over Denver. Denver now drops 2 in a row to fall 2-2. After getting shut out the week prior, they at least put up 20, but Carolina's still able to get the win over them. Bossier City visited Chicago. The Not Bomb Pops.
Yeah, the Not Bomb Pops.
Yeah, but they won, though.
Something. I don't even want to get into it. Let's just move on.
I'm kind of mad about that score. I don't know. We'll talk about.
Move on.
We'll see about. All right, maybe we'll circle back. We'll circle back. Washington Trident 1-3 now. They lost to Sin City, with Washington being at home. Low scoring game, 14-8. Only a 6-point margin of victory, but a low scoring game. Washington's still looking for another win.
And that just sums up kind of what all these games were. We thought they were some easy type picks that we did. They were slam dunk kind of like wins there, and we did so bad. And it's an indication of it, right? Washington struggled. Sin City getting their first win of the season.
We did terrible on our picks. We did get this next one right, though. Vancouver hosting Los Angeles, 34-10. Vancouver getting the win. They're 4-0. They look really good. And then Houston, Albuquerque. Albuquerque at home. Undefeated at home? Not anymore. 20-19. A walk-off field goal. Practically a walk-off field goal. Houston getting the win with a last-second Sonny J field goal. So great week of football. It was really exciting. So how's that make the standings look? Now there are 2 undefeated teams remaining. There still are 2 undefeated teams remaining, I should say. Vancouver at 4-0, DC at 4-0. There are now no winless teams, which I love. I hate having teams that are winless. It's not good for anybody, especially the people that are associated with that team. So everybody's got at least 1 win under their belt, and that's great to see. Rounding out the top 5, you've also got Arizona, Houston, and Detroit.
Let's not talk about it.
In the top 5 at 3-1. All 3 of those teams.
I was so bad in picks last week. It's terrible.
Yeah. You just couldn't quite get much right last week, it seems. But listen, let's talk more about you not getting stuff right last week. Let's get into the offensive and defensive player spotlights. My pick for offensive player spotlight is, well, you know what, Gerald, why don't you tell us? It's a little flashback from last week.
And or experimenting. OKC being a team that's rebuilding, Chicago being a team that's experimenting. Whatever. You don't have a mad scientist there. You need to quit it and move on. So look.
I think we should play that again.
You know what, Commish? Let's play that again. I want to make sure everybody heard it.
Okay.
Or experimenting. OKC being a team that's rebuilding, Chicago being a team that's experimenting. Whatever. You don't have a mad scientist there. You need to quit it and move on. So look.
Gerald wants us to move on, but one more.
He definitely wants us to move on, but one more time.
Okay.
Oh man. Or experimenting. OKC being a team that's rebuilding, Chicago being a team that's experimenting. Whatever. You don't have a mad scientist there. You need to quit it and move on.
And you know what, Gerald? They do have a mad scientist there, because my pick for offensive player of the week is none other than Chicago's quarterback, Ty Patak, the mad scientist himself. Look at those stats that he had. 14 rushes for 96 yards, a rushing touchdown, 20 of 38, 53% completion percentage, 215 yards, 2 touchdown passes. He did phenomenal. You see a 10-yard run right there in the first quarter. It was the very first offensive play of the game, kind of set the stage. And then this pass was actually his longest of the entire game, 21 yards. So his 215 yards that he had on the day, it wasn't all because of 1 or 2 big chunk plays. It was, just plays like this. 21 yards was his longest. Finally found the end zone later on in the first quarter. Throwing that touchdown pass. That was his first touchdown pass of the day. And then running it another 9 yards here in the second quarter. On 3rd and 8, he ran for 9 and was able to get the first. So, this is something that he was able to do throughout the game that really helped set the tone for the game as a whole. I love it when you have a quarterback like this guy who can do more than just one thing. He's not just a passer. He's also a runner. So made it to the halftime player of the game, 10 of 20, 114 yards, a touchdown, already had 57 rushing yards on the day. Now check this out. So he runs it in for a touchdown, right? Or so one would think. This actually got reviewed. So you see there was a challenge on the play. They look back at it, and they're like, you know what? The ruling on the field is overturned. So, no, he didn't get a rushing touchdown. So what does Chicago do? Chicago says, you know what? Ty Patak got a rushing touchdown, whether you like it or not. You overturn that one, overturn this, rushes it straight in convincingly, gets the touchdown on that one. But he doesn't just do it on the ground. He also gets it done in the air. 9-yard touchdown pass. Bossier City would actually score on their next possession as well. So it was good for Chicago to go ahead and get that score right there. And then Ty Patak coming out for the game-sealing knee. And you know what, though? We're going to show more than just what Ty Patak had to offer, because Ron Haynes actually went rogue, and he called a special teams player of the game as well. Houston Sonny J, special shout-out to Sonny J in this one. As listen, this just had to get added in. Houston in Albuquerque. Nobody's ever beaten Albuquerque in Albuquerque. They're down by 2 points. They're marching their way down the field. And then Sonny J was able to set up a 51-yard field goal try. I didn't think that they had gotten enough right there. They're down at the 33-yard line. Final timeout called. 5 seconds left to go in the game. And, all the way down from the left hash. Sonny J, Good ball placement, kick on its way right down the middle. And, that gave him the 1-point lead. Still 2 seconds left to go in that game. Ultimately, I thought there was a chance Albuquerque was going to actually return the kickoff for a touchdown. But it wasn't to be. Anyway, like I said, Ron Haynes went a little rogue there. He went and he threw his own guy in there.
He did me a solid.
He did you a solid because he took some attention away from Ty Patak, who was the offensive player of the week.
Or experimenting. OKC being a team that's rebuilding. Chicago being a team that's experimenting. Whatever. You don't have a mad scientist there. You need to quit it and move on.
But they do have a mad scientist. His name is Ty Patak, and he's got that offense just rolling, man.
He earned it last week, right? And look, credit to Ron Haynes, Mike Daggs, Cameron, putting that together and throwing that back in my face. I deserved it. he put on a show last week and proved, hey, look, maybe he is the mad scientist that
maybe
I said that he wasn't. But look, it did great, well earned, well played. Look, and they play well when he does a lot with his legs.
Now I'll move on. Go ahead. Let's get into the defensive player spotlight.
All right. So my defensive player spotlight going into this week is one of the better players on the defensive side. I've been questioning this team all season long, and it's Detroit Maulers defensive tackle, number 51, Sean Parent. And he's going to prove through these highlights right here why he is one of the best interior defensive linemen in the entire SFL. You can see right here he had 4 tackles, 4 TFLs, 3 of those sacks. You're going to see him just make plays right here, and he's almost unblockable right here. Just gets a spin move right on that guard and then just blows right by him in there so fast. Quarterback didn't know what to do, got in there extremely quick, and as we can see right here, just kind of goes right by him, blows right by him, brings down the quarterback for his first sack of 3 on the day. And this is another one right here. His pursuit again right here, just beating the interior lineman right there, right? Just going there, just straight destroying them for a TFL on the running back. And this is already in the first quarter. What he's going to do right here again. Look, as Ron Haynes does excellent things, shows you the track he's going to take right here. What he does, comes right on through, just blows by him again. The same guy, that left guard, he tore his behind up all night, and he just continued to do it all day long. Second sack of the day. And here we go again, right? They're going the opposite direction. It's now the second quarter. And what's he do? Blows right by him. The guard didn't know if he wanted to block him or watch him. Maybe he thought the running back was going to save his behind, but the running back couldn't get over there. Got a little caught in a little bit of a no man's land. But Sean Parent, so fast to the ball, almost unguardable. And guess who is the halftime player? Sean Parent. 3 sacks, right? Yeah. 4 tackles.
Defensive tackles, the halftime
yes,
player.
And that's and it's on a really, really good defense right here. So look. And this is what another thing we got right here. Watch this right here. This is something else that he does. He doesn't get to the quarterback, right? But guess what he does? Scares him enough to throw a pass and force a turnover. Look, he just destroyed the guy like he did all day long, got clipped by the running back, but still got enough pressure and in the quarterback's face to force that interception as they go on to win this game that I didn't think they were going to win. They won it in dominating fashion because of their defense. Look, and on the season, Sean Parent is among the best so far this season as an interior lineman. He has 10 tackles on a season, 9 sacks. It leads the SFL right now. That's 9 incredible. Sacks as a defensive tackle. It's like those old school defensive tackles like Alex Dominguez. Yep. You know, way back in the day, getting a gazillion sacks. He's doing trouble up the middle. He's been trouble for offenses all season long, and he has 10 TFLs to go along with those 9 sacks.
Skippy Curtis with a $4.99 super chat. Mike, you looking so young today, not a day over 65.
Oh, yeah.
Why? Yep. Why are you here? Like, go do something else. I don't really care what you go do. Just go do something else. Why she got to be like that? Anyway, Sean Parent, listen, Dan Tritz, he could only hope to have that many sacks throughout the entire season, let alone through 5 weeks of play. That's incredible. That he's got that many, playing absolutely phenomenal football, and see, it's players like that are part of the reason, like you mentioned, that Detroit is 3-1. They're outperforming what you thought they'd be able to do.
Correct,
and it's because of players like Sean Parent stepping up and forcing that pressure. And it's not even just about the sacks that he gets. You saw that one play that you highlighted where he was able to get the pressure on the quarterback and force that errant throw. And that's what I constantly have to remind my beloved D-lines. They're like, we're not getting any sacks. I'm like, but you're getting pressure. You're forcing quick passes. The Aztecs are taking on Bossier City this week in Louisiana. And, listen, I need that D-line to get that pressure on Pickler. I need them to force those quick passes. I don't care if they sack Pickler. That's not the point. It's about getting that pressure. But dang, 9 sacks. That's some solid stats.
Really
so
impressive,
far.
Especially like in the new age, right, of the SFL, right? We've seen a severe about 3 seasons ago sacks drop off.
Yeah.
And guess what? It's really refreshing to see. Look, if you do a good scheme and you have a really good dominant player like this, it can happen.
Frank Doom says, "Hey Skippy, maybe we should call him Senior Mike Daggs Senior." I don't.
Senior.
I don't know. He's looking to get banned, is what he's looking to get. So anyway, congratulations, Type Attack, and for Gerald being dead wrong, and congratulations, Sean Parent. Thank you, Ron Haynes, for putting those videos together. Absolutely beautiful videos. So let's move on from week 5. Let's start getting into week 6. Who's not playing this week? We've got Carolina, Denver, Los Angeles, Minnesota, Queen City, and Sin City, along with Vancouver. They're all on a bye this week, and let's roll into the schedule. We've got 4 games tonight. We've got 4 games tomorrow night. No Monday Night Spectacular this week, but it'll be back. Don't worry. We start this week off with an absolute banger of a game. I mean, Arizona at Houston, 3-1 at 3-1. I'm so excited that you and I get to call this one. I didn't even have to flex nothing. I didn't have to pull no tricks. This game was just bloop. It just dropped right into the bucket for us. And looking forward to calling that one. We'll break that one down in just a little bit. Colin and Rick Northrup will be up on the same time block. Charleston at DC. Charleston, they've got their work cut out for them going up against 4-0 DC in our nation's capital tonight. At 9 p.m., we've got Florida at Lexington, a pair of 2-2 teams that I still don't know what to make of either one of them. So that could be interesting. Cameron Duty and Eddie Gage on the call. What do you think about that game?
I don't know either. Florida kind of hit or miss, right? I'm really critical of Florida, right? I'm more hopeful of what Lexington has because I think Florida kind of fell off a bit. But Florida's still hanging in there, right? So they're trying to piece a lot of stuff together. Lexington themselves, they've been hit or miss this season. So I have no idea what we're going to get from either team.
Yeah, and at 9:15, this is the game that we actually circled as our game of the week. Chicago at Detroit. Who would have thought that earlier on in the season? 2-2 Chicago at 3-1 Detroit. Ramos Lynn and Jacob Clear on the call for that one. And that's going to round out our Saturday slate. We'll break that game down in a little bit. And I'm sure you've got a little something to say about probably both of those teams. But then we are also looking at the Sunday slate. We've got Albuquerque at Baltimore up first. And that's a game between 2 powerhouse teams that this season are like, yeah, are they? Are they the powerhouses that we all thought they were? Damon Simeon's going to be back on the air. Looking forward to hearing him back in the booth. And Jacob Clear doing his second game of the week. Thank you, Jacob. And then Mexico City at Bossier City. Chris Curtis, Brandon Walters on the call. And you know what? I'll take advantage of my own platform. Jacob Morrison getting his first career start at halfback this week for the Mexico City Aztecs. He's been around several seasons, and finally he was able to convince me to tell Bentley to go ride the pine for a little bit. Jacob Morrison's going to be the starting back.
Yeah, maybe it's Bentley saying, no, I'm taking the week off.
Yeah, it's more that. He's like, veteran wrestling.
I'm old. I got my MVP trophy in my back pocket already. Let's just have
He's got enough accolades. It's time for Morrison to shine. And then at 9 p.m., we've got Washington at Fort Worth. Brandon Walters doing his second game of the week, along with Stephen Mullinex back in the booth. Stephen's been having a phenomenal season so far, calling games. So grateful to have him back on the broadcast team. And then closing out the week, Oklahoma City at Pittsburgh at 9:15. Jacob Clear doing his third game. Kudos to that Australian. And Brett Solberg in the booth with him as well. And that is our weekend slate of games. So, listen, we got to rapid fire these breakdowns. There is no time to waste because we're doing 3 game breakdowns in rapid succession. All right, so Albuquerque at Baltimore. After week 5 of last season, Albuquerque was 4-1. They were undefeated at home all time. Baltimore was 3-2, and they had only lost 12 times at home in the 105 times that they have played there. Now, after week 5 of this season, Albuquerque's 2-2, and their home winning streak is now over. Baltimore is 1-2, and both of those losses came at home. Back home tomorrow night, Baltimore is looking to at least get back to 500 this season. However, now Albuquerque is actually fighting to end what is now a 2-game losing streak and get back into the win column as they fight for position in the ever-competitive South Division. So break this one down for us.
And Albuquerque, as you kind of mentioned, look, they're losers of 2 straight games and lost their first home game ever last week. And stats have told the story for this team. For me, in their 2 wins, they forced 6 turnovers, only allowing an average of 66 rush yards on defense. On offense, they've averaged, during those wins, 238 yards rushing on the ground and have outscored their opponents 75-13 during those 2 wins. In their losses, they allow more than double the rush yards. On average, they're allowing 134 rush yards to their opponent and have only forced 1 turnover on defense. Look, the offense has only ran for an average of 95 yards in those 2 losses as well.
Right.
Which is, guess what? 2 times less than the yards they're rushing for during their wins.
I was to say that, especially week 1, they absolutely. I mean, they just ran all over the whole league,
and it's a huge like drop off that they have on either side, right? Wow, look, they have been outscored 40-42. They've allowed 42 points in their losses. So look, and they give up, like I said, 2 times the amount of points in their losses than what they did in their wins. So look, this team, to play its best is when they're forcing turnovers and running the ball well. But if teams are able to play mistake-free and slow down that run game, not stop it. I mean, 95 yards on average a game isn't too bad at all. But if they can just slow them just enough to get the 8 questions how strong this team actually is.
Right.
So, look, and it's huge questions, right? So, for me, their key players is the run game with Slap and the Williams brothers.
Yeah, they gotta perform well.
Right. And Cyrus Jive, he's only completing, he's 21st in completion percentage in the league.
21st out of 23 teams.
Yeah, and he's below 50% right now, right? And they have to get Kay Marion involved. When she's involved, they are much better. And the front 7, you have to stop the run, because when you cannot stop the run, you lose.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get into Baltimore. I mean, they got their first win in beating. They got their win in week 3 by beating a not so good Carolina team, but they're still looking pretty flat overall.
Look, I'm sure everybody tried riding a bike with a flat tire. It sucks. And that's
typically
kind of
the tire first.
Yeah. So, and that's kind of what Baltimore look at. They look like a flat tire on a bike, and it's just not what we're used to seeing. Their offense has scored the fewest points in the SFL so far. The next worst is Carolina, right? Carolina's the next one that scores, the next fewest points in the league. They score only 14 points a game, and they allow 24 points a game.
No, it's
not a recipe for
losing. No,
not good.
No.
Quarterback Jack Wigmore, the former MVP, everybody knows it, is struggling with a 48.7 QBR, second worst in the league.
48.7 is higher of a number than my age, Skippy. Carry on.
It's debatable. They need to get the
same age I am.
They need to get the run game going with Murray, Anderson, and Gaines. And Gaines is a Hall of Famer. He knows how to run the ball, and they are ranked 17th out of 23 in rushing in the league right now. Look, the defense, to me, has forgotten how to apply pressure on the quarterback this season. In the bottom third in sacks and takeaway. They're not forcing any turnovers, which tells me they're also not putting pressure on the quarterback, and it shows with the sacks that they just do not have, being that far low in the standing. Look, and that's all the bad or the negative you want to call it.
But there is good news.
The good news, they have a Hall of Fame coach in T-Pat.
They do.
But I am questioning whether or not we're going to see that Hall of Fame coaching caliber stuff in Baltimore this season. So challenge to T-Pat. Look, they're going to have to improve. I'm yet to see it so far, right? So key players here is going to be quarterback Wigmore. Clean up the mistakes. He's got a lot of mistakes. You need to get that QBR up. He's throwing a lot of interceptions. And the defensive line has to apply pressure to the opposing offense to force more turnovers.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like we talked about with Sean Parent, it's not always about the sacks. It'd be nice if every defensive line could have a player that gets 9 sacks on the day, or on the season, I should say, through 5 weeks. But just getting that pressure, forcing those turnovers. But yeah, the key, I mean, the offense has to put up points. No matter how bad of a defense a team has, if the offense can just outscore the other team, and they're just maximizing every possession and at least coming away with 3, then you have a good shot at winning the game. So Albuquerque at Baltimore, our first game of the week. That'll be Sunday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. But we had to break down this one. We just had to. Chicago at Detroit. I am looking forward to this one. 2-2 Chicago at 3-1 Detroit. Circling this game on your calendar was certainly not something on your to-do list at the beginning of the season. But here, after 5 weeks of play, we find a pair of competitive teams. Now, I say that knowing you still have no faith in either one of them, right? Carolina seems to now have passed on the torch to Chicago as the team that you like to beat down every week. So congrats, Skippy. You're at least off the hook for that. But you quite literally scoffed at my pick last week of Detroit. And they won, by the way. That was the one of the only games that I got different than you. But here we are, nonetheless. Chicago's at 2-2, and Detroit is top 5 in the standings, like we talked about earlier on, at 3-1. Chicago, they do have a pair of losses. However, they the losses that they have are to the 2 undefeated teams. It's not like they lost to some slouch. They lost to 2 undefeated teams. And those wins, they stomped Minnesota. I mean, they just beat them down. And they beat Bossier City by a full touchdown. So Detroit, they narrowly lost to Queen City in the opener. They simply ran out of time. They were on a drive to go get the game-winning score, and they just ran out of time. If they had one more touchdown, they could easily be 4-0 because otherwise all they've done is win games, even though you scoffed at my pick. But, hey, what can these teams do later on tonight?
Oh, boy. Let me tell you, the mad scientists in Chicago might be on to something. Here
Player of the week.
Sitting at 2-0, coming off of, look, 2 straight losses to 2 undefeated teams in Vancouver and D.C., like you mentioned, right? And they got their second win last week.
They sure did.
I'll admit, 500. Just because I don't like it doesn't mean it won't work. And it kind of is working right now for them, right? They're doing something really, really unique.
Yep.
The fact is, this team, this is what's most important for this team. This team revolves around Paulie Truth,
who's in the
their
chat,
tight end, who is probably, one of the most underrated guys. When we get to that a little bit, and the success of Type Attack in the rushing game, right? So if these two do not produce, this team fails.
Yep.
Paulie has been the best tight end not named Lauren Prococo in the SFL for the last 6 seasons, in my opinion. I've said this, get Paulie involved because he can win you games and he can take over. And if they don't want to do it, Paulie, let me tell you, when I get back in it, because it's a win, I'll do it. I'll bring you back to all-star status. Look, defensively, they are very good versus the pass.
Yep.
6th in pass defense. They're number 3 in stacks, but they have struggled versus the run. They're 22nd in rush defense. The front 3 with McPherson, Merck, and Molyneux have been great, but the lack of quality linebackers has got the run game struggling, and it's extremely suspect.
Yes.
So with this right here, right, this is why I call it, hey, they're mad scientists. It feels like to me at times they're trying to reinvent the wheel every week in what they do and everything else. You know what the key to success is. You know what you can do to win games. Get Paulie Truth involved and get Type Attack running the ball around. If you can do that, you can win a lot more games than what you do. And that's the key player, Type Attack. And what he does through the air, throwing it to Paulie Truth and running the ball. The DBs playing linebackers, they have to do much better than stop and run because if they don't, they will lose.
We'll see what happens. I mean, it's been working somewhat so far. They're 2-2, and again, those only 2 losses are to undefeated teams. Frank Doom in the chat says the offensive player of the week versus the defensive player of the week, and he's not wrong because, hey, we've got Chicago with Type Attack going up against Sean Parent's Detroit, a team that you've doubted since week 1, and of course they lost.
I doubted them week 1, and they lost, but they've responded by winning 3 straight with the great defense. They have only allowed 1 touchdown the last 3 games on their way to having SFL's best defense. Number 1 in points allowed, number 1 in total defense, only allowing 224 yards of total offense to their opponents per game. They have the best front 4 I have seen in the SFL in a very, very long time with defensive ends Matthews, the Laggings, and defensive tackle Cherry, and SFL leader in sacks, defensive tackle Sean Parent, who is a defensive player spotlight, leads the league with 9 sacks. The defense is number 1 in the league with 20 sacks in 4 games. That's 5 a game.
That's insane.
5 sacks a game. It's crazy. Look,
you hear that, Dan Tritz? It can be done.
Right. Look, and offensively, they aren't as good, but they have the 3rd best rushing attack, despite being 20th in total offense that they have in yards. Offense has played relatively mistake-free, which guess what? It keeps you in games and gets you where you need to be to get those potential wins. So, for me, look, they're key players. They got to get the run game going. It's got to be Gibson, Harleman, and Sutherland, right? They got to keep doing that stuff because guess what? Chicago's defense is very vulnerable on the defensive side, right? Especially in the run game. Their front 4 have to keep Patak in check, and if there's any team that can do it, I do think it's Detroit.
Yeah, and it's going to be a great game. It's later on tonight, 9:15 p.m. Eastern time. You're definitely going to want to see that one. And I'd love to get into this one even more and pick on you a little bit more, but I think we've maybe done that enough. There's really not any more time. We've got 15 minutes till kickoff of this next game. So let's break this one down because this is going to be one heck of a game. Arizona at Houston, 3-1 at 3-1. Houston finally did something that no other team has been able to pull off, and that's beating Albuquerque in Albuquerque. That brought them up to 3-1 on the season. They're leading the South. 2 divisional games already crossed off the list, and they've got a win in both of them. I might be a little jealous. They're now one of only 3 teams in the league sitting at 3-1, joining Detroit and, of course, Arizona, their opponent. And how about them Scorpions? Taking down my beloved Aztecs in the season opener, nearly giving head coach Eddie Gage a heart attack live on air, which I would have actually felt bad about. They followed that up with another road win over an up-and-down Lexington squad, and they did lose to Vancouver, but it was only by 7 points. I mean, it was a single-score game. They were at least competitive in it against an undefeated team otherwise. And then they came back from that one by absolutely destroying LA 52-17. We've got 2 incredible squads ready to put on what is sure to be one heck of a show tonight. I can't wait for it. What's Arizona going to do?
And these are 2 guys that were co-owners at one time with one another. So if anyone knows each other's games really well, Damon always doing the offensive side, and then you got Eddie doing defensive side. So now they're kind of going to go battle at it. So Arizona is seemingly playing a different type of ball than what we used to seeing over the most recent season. Usually their defense is stronger than their offense.
Right.
But this season, their offense is playing really well. For the first time in 4 seasons, they are averaging 30-plus points a game right now. 32 points is what they're averaging per game, to be exact, for the number 2 scoring offense in the league and the number 9 total offense. Quarterback Ashley Jackson has had a very good start, leading the SFL in touchdowns thrown with 8 touchdowns on the season, along with being top 7 in all quarterback categories. She's playing really, really well right now, and she's actually throwing to a couple of wide receivers that they brought in this past offseason.
Huge additions.
That's what I'm saying. Like Fox Highwind and T. DeQueen, huge additions.
Both in the chat.
Look, and a combined 47 receptions, 677 yards receiving, 5 touchdowns.
Yep.
So doing really good, really big, and they're utilizing. A lot of people bring in talent, takes them a while to figure out instantly. Yep. They're figuring out the talent. They're doing really well.
The rush game's doing good
Brad
too.
Jones, top 9 rusher in the league, number 1 in rushing touchdowns in the season so far. They're doing pretty good in the run game. On the defensive side, they are second worst in yards allowed. But they have made up for it in the takeaways. They rank number 2 in takeaways, right? You can allow all that yardage if you're taking the ball away from your opponent.
Yep.
Every DB on the defense has at least 1 interception, and the big dog, Sean Moore, at the linebacker position, has 2 interceptions himself. And they rank number 1 in passes defended.
Can't catch them all, but you may as well
swat
it down.
Look, so they're always in the passing lane. They are a very opportunistic unit. And key players this week is going to be Ashley Jackson, those 2 wide receivers we just talked about, Highwind and DeQueen, Sean Moore and Adam Wiseman. Why at linebackers? Because Adam Wiseman is a tackle for loss machine.
Yep.
If they can play the line of scrimmage really well, we already know that Sean Moore can play the line of scrimmage and he can play a little bit of pass defense. I do think if they get themselves in the position they need to be, they could come out on top.
They very well might. You know, if I'm Eddie Gage, I'm not even remotely worried about that whole second worst in yards allowed thing. The Aztecs, which I'll put up our secondary against any in the league any day. And last season and the season before, we were, I think, dead last in yards allowed on defense through the passing game. Why? Because everybody's playing from behind most of the time, and that's where Arizona finds themselves this season. They're out in front in these games, and teams have to try to throw these passes in.
And when you're taking the ball away at a pretty good clip,
yeah,
it helps you out as well.
Absolutely. How about Houston doing the unthinkable last week? They defeated Albuquerque, got their 3rd straight win, and defeated Albuquerque in Albuquerque.
Yeah, look, and the 2nd straight win that they've had that came down to the last possession. The week prior to last week, they won in overtime.
Yep.
And then what they do, they decide to just kick a game-winning field goal at the end with 2 seconds left to win the game. Look, and usually we talk about Houston's run game and how dominant it can be. But the Lake Man was great last week.
Love that guy.
64% completions, 242 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions on the game. He played really, really good. The run game has been good as well with, Baloo Scott and Tino Sosa running the ball. They have the 5th best rushing offense. Houston's offense is top 7 in nearly all offensive categories. And defensively, they have been sneaky good, in my opinion, as usual. Nobody talks about their defense, but they've been sneaky good, right? And maybe DeMond stole some of the ideas that Eddie Gage has for his defense and used it for himself. So, look, they also added a very, very big free agent to their defensive side. Juan Mississippi's having a monster season thus far. He's top 5 in tackles, right? He actually has 43 tackles on the season. In sacks, he's 3rd. He's got 5 sacks. And TFL, he's 1st in the league with 13 TFLs on the season so far. Very, very big signing. He's making an impact for this Houston defense. The defense ranked 5th in sacks as well. So, look, I think they're a well-rounded team the way they're playing right now.
Sure are.
And their key players, the Lake Man, as usual. If he plays like he did last week, look out. And you know who we haven't talked about in a couple of seasons? Hall of Famer, the best wide receiver to ever play the game in the SFL. DR Sim, Lakeman and DR Sim, once that heats up, look out. And the pass rush from the front 7, if they can apply pressure to Ashley Jackson, I think it could spell some trouble for the Scorpions.
Can't wait to get this one started. I'm pumped up for it. Less than 10 minutes to go. So let's jump right into our picks. I don't know if anyone even wants to listen. You can all tune out now. Like if you want to just close the show, that's fine. Because our picks, they were so bad last week. Like why anybody would even care what we have to say about the picks, I don't know. You went 2-6 last week. I went 3-5. I mean, at least I did better than you.
Yeah, but you didn't say no nonsense that people throw back in your face for. I don't know, a half hour. It seemed like it was long.
Let's jump right into it. I'm 22-17 on the season. Now you're 19-20. Back to a losing record.
That's
you
bad.
Go. It's not good. That's for sure. Charleston at DC. Who do you
got? Charleston. Early on this season, they looked like the Charleston I thought they could be. They're still a good team, but they're going to the DC. They're going to the Dragon's Lair and everything else. And I don't think they're going to have enough.
Yeah.
DC's playing really good ball. DC's not blowing anybody out, but they're playing really well around the ball. So, they feel a lot more comfortable playing these tight games. And I do think DC continues to be unbeaten.
Yeah, I agree. I'm also going to go with the DC Dragons in this one. They're undefeated. I think we picked Charleston to win last week, and they didn't. And now they're going to be on the road against an undefeated squad looking to go 5-0. It's going to be DC, I think. Florida at Lexington. I didn't really even know where to go with this one.
I didn't know where to go with it either, but I'm like, hey, if I'm beating up on Florida, let's just keep beating them down. I don't think they're going to go into Kentucky and do anything against, I'm saying anything. They're going to do something. But I think Lexington at home, I think the boogeyman gets his swagger back and puts a lot of pressure on the opposing offense. So I think Lexington takes it at home.
Yeah, I'm also going to go with Lexington in this one because listen, they're an up and down team. They were down. I think they're back up now. Honestly, I think it's that simple. Florida, I just still don't know what to make of them. I picked them in week 1, and they surprised everybody, even me. I just wanted to pick against you. That was all, and it worked out. I'm not picking them this week, not on the road, not in Lexington. Chicago at Detroit are one of our games of the week.
This was a difficult game to pick for me, right? Because the stats say it otherwise, and I'm watching them, and they've impressed, right? Even though, hey, Chicago's 2-2 and Detroit 3-1 it's actually pretty impressive. Man, they both have like good stuff going for them. When they're on, they're on. Chicago, right? They had that unique style of offense when they're running with Patak, and they're actually utilizing Paulie Truth to his full potential and what he can do. It'd be a straight game changer. But in Detroit, they have a better defense. I do think as of right now in the season, they've actually surpassed, which was one of my favorite defenses, from last season, spilling up this season, was Denver. Yeah. They've actually shown up and they actually done it, right? And just shut them down. So it was really, really tough for me. But I can't pick it Chicago because I don't like experimentation. I got to go with Detroit. Wow. Really only because Detroit's at home and their defense is really good. If they have somebody to stop type attack, it's that defensive front.
And that's where I'm going with it, too. I'm actually also going to go with Detroit in this one because how many sacks did you say they have on the season?
20.
20. Ty, you're going to be running for your life, buddy. I mean, which is part of the game plan. I mean, he does run for his life. That's how it's drawn up. But they've got the TFLs to match as well and a passing defense, which is going to be good enough to shut down the passing attack if they need it to. Give me Detroit in that one. Albuquerque at Baltimore, another game of the week.
And this is the one that was another tough one too, because you got Albuquerque looks better even with the 2 losses that they have, better than what Baltimore has looked. Even Baltimore at home. Baltimore's at home this week, but you know what? I think Albuquerque. I think they're questioning themselves after those 2 losses, even more so after that loss at home last week. And I think Baltimore, they had a week off, got a Hall of Fame coach. I do think if there's a week that we're going to see that Hall of Fame coaching come out and actually show up, it's this week. Baltimore is going to win it with Albuquerque visiting them.
All right, so finally I get to disagree with you. It's so much more fun when I can pick against you. Give me Albuquerque in this one. I know they're on the road. I know they're coming off of 2 losses. They're in the South, man. A South team's not going to lose 3 in a row. It's just not going to happen.
I did.
Well, that's why you're not in the South anymore. Your 2-legged horse ran off, buddy. Gone, but not forgotten. Maybe it'll circle back someday. Anyway, we'll keep going. Albuquerque, I think Albuquerque's going to get the win. I think they're going to figure out what their run game was doing in week 1 that isn't working these past couple of games. I think they're going to get that working again against the Baltimore defense that's just looked kind of confused throughout this season. And the Albuquerque defense, they are stacked. And I think that Baltimore's offense this season is just, I don't know, also confused. Flat tired. Yeah, we'll use that same reference. Give me Albuquerque in this one. Mexico City at Bossier City.
Bossier City has the talent. I think they have the talent to match up with the best teams in the league. And this week they are playing the best team in the league, for at least from the last 2 seasons in Mexico City. They have that talent. I just think they have a situation where they have the talent, but they're not putting their players in the best places to be successful right now. And you guys, the way you guys play, I think you go into Bossier City and you guys are going to win, and I think it's going to be about multiple scores. I hate to say it about a team in Louisiana, but especially with the talents that they have. Now, can they kind of pull it out and keep it close? They've shown that they can play once they put it all together, but it doesn't look like it to me that they can do that. I think Mexico City wins it.
Obviously, I'm going to pick Mexico City, but I'll at least just say this. Jacob Morrison getting his first career start. I'm looking for him to have a big day. It's going to be over 100 yards. It's going to be running all over the place. We brought back darn near the entire roster from last season, except we also brought back Skylar Kingsley, who had taken a season off. He got 2 sacks in the last game. And then we shored up the secondary by adding on Miranda Dumas. She's in the chat, by the way. And I think it's just going to be too much for Bossier City to handle, even though they are at home. Give me Mexico City. Washington at Fort Worth.
This was one that was a little bit, I don't know what to think of this game either.
With 1 win,
right?
Yeah.
It's like it looks weird, and Fort Worth got beat a couple of times pretty convincingly, and then Washington, after the season they had last season and coming in here, I thought pretty highly of them coming into the season. And here they are. They already had 3 losses. They're in the bottom. They're with everybody else. They're like last with everybody else that's 1-3. There's no team worse than 1-3. You're sitting there with them, and I don't know if I can pick them right now going into the stockyards, right?
Right.
Because I do think they're reeling a little bit, and I do think they get a little bit pass happy, not focusing on the run. Fort Worth knows who they are. They know whenever they lose what they need to fix, and I think Fort Worth figures it out this week, and they're going to win.
Fort Worth just put up over 60 points, too. I don't care what opponent you go up against. I know it was Oklahoma City, I believe, yes? So a team that we've scratched our heads on a couple times this season. They have gotten a win, though, but putting up over 60 points on anybody shows that you know how to score some points. And Fort Worth being at home, Washington, I don't know. They just kind of look confused. Give me Fort Worth in the stockyards. I've been there. It's a tough place to play. And I think Fort Worth is going to take it. Speaking of OKC, they're visiting Pittsburgh this week.
Yeah, look, everybody knows I made a mistake. I'm sorry. You got to get this win from me this week, Louisiana North. I love you. And
against them.
You're going to win. And look, they were impressive last week on the road.
On the road, they looked really good.
And that's why I'm picking them. They looked really good. If they can take what they did on the road at home, because they play better at home, they're going to win. I love you guys. Pittsburgh for the win. Louisiana North, whoop.
Give me Pittsburgh as well. Why? Because Corey Menner was very unhappy with us both last week.
Oh, he lit up my DMs.
He didn't want to speak to us.
Had Craven in there.
Yeah, it's not good. It was not good. Pittsburgh looked absolutely fantastic on the road. And if they can look that good on the road, give me Pittsburgh at home hosting Oklahoma City, who's still trying to find their footing. That's our picks. That's what we got this week. I don't know. We collectively, we only got 5 picks correct last week, and there was friggin' 9 games, so that's not good. But hey, that's what we got. This has been the Matt Willson SFL Kickoff Show for Gerald Smith, Cameron Irvine.
I got kicked so many times today with the
Ron
video
Haynes.
in my face.
Mute his mic. I'm Mike Dykes. Thanks for joining us. And get ready. SFL action is just around the corner. We've got Arizona. We've got Houston. Who's going to win? As Matt Willson would say, there's only one way to find out, and that's on the field. We'll see you there.